Last night I had a dream, and it was a speech, I suppose. It was a long speech, but it was clear, and I want to recreate that speech if possible. So this is brainstorm the spout of everything I can remember. I'm going to start from what I remember, and that was a scale, and it was opposites. So I asked, what is the opposite of evil? And people would say good. And then I asked the question, okay, so what's the opposite of bad? And then you can't answer that because you've already given good as the opposite of evil. But you know that good is the opposite of bad. So then it begs the question, well, if good is the opposite of bad and not the opposite of evil, what is the opposite of evil? And it's a really difficult question to answer. You can say, well, what is evil? So, and that's quite an easy question to answer, because what is evil is, yeah, we can give a lot of examples. So people like Hitler is probably the number one example of somebody who is evil. And I also noticed that we can't say a creature or a thing is evil, because evil is about a choice. You can't say that a lioness is evil for hunting, because the lioness hunts in order to survive and in order to feed her young. You can't say that a dog who ravages a baby is evil, because that dog ravaged the baby because that dog was starved for all its life in a cage and beaten and driven to mad rage by abuse of its owners. The dog is not evil, the dog simply does what it's trained to do. There is no evil in it, it's just a wild dog. So how can we say that Hitler is evil? How can we say that? And the reason why we can say it is because of evil is it's based on a standpoint. So now when we look back on the actions of Hitler in the persecutions of a race, an entire race, and the genocide of that race, we can now say that Hitler is evil, because what he did is massive, is catastrophically massive, is carnage on a global scale. So we dub that as evil. But what's really interesting is that Hitler never thought he was evil. From his standpoint, Hitler was actually good. The whole reason Hitler was exterminating the Jews was in order to try and create a better world. In Hitler's eyes, the Jews were a taint on a perfect civilization, and he wanted to create this perfect civilization. He wanted to eradicate the taint and then restart with his Aryan race. In Hitler's eyes, he was not evil. In the generals of Hitler, he was not evil. In Hitler's youth, he was not evil. In all the people he brainwashed, which is just basically a matter of conditioning. When we say brainwashing, it sounds like a really bad thing, but actually it's just conditioning. We're all brainwashed. Right now we are brainwashed. We're brainwashed to think that the place that we live and the things that we do to the earth are okay in society. We're taught that our food comes from supermarkets, and we don't question how it gets there. And we're taught that everything comes in packaging, and if it's broken, then it's bad. All of these things are conditioning. That's all that Hitler was doing. He was conditioning. Now, I'm not condoning what Hitler did, but I'm trying to explain the question, what is evil? And it's all based on a standpoint. So then if we say, okay, so we've got this spectrum upon how to describe ourselves, and on the one hand we have good, we have nice, kind, generous, wonderful person. So that's like the first echelon on the good, the positive side, and then on the negative side, the first echelon is negative, bad, nasty, horrible, I don't know, or some other negative things, right? So you've got this one echelon on either side at a medium point in the spectrum of positive and negative in terms of people. Then on the second echelon of the negative side we have evil. Now where's this extra echelon on the good side, on the positive side? We need that. I mean, it's got to be a positive. So and then I started thinking about, well, asking the audience, and the audience would say things like, well, saintly, maybe. And the problem with that is it's a religious connotation. We are not gods necessarily in the biblical term of it. We are, but it's not as simple as that. And then I asked for examples, and generally what people might say is Mother Teresa, Gandhi, Martin Luther King, sorry, things like this, right? They're people that are the incarnate opposite of an evil person, right? And then I say, well, what is it about these people? What is it about these people that put them in that second echelon of good, more than just good, akin to sainthood? And I ask the audience, and I say, speak your truth. Don't be afraid. Speak your truth with everything that you are. Stand up and shout your truth. And someone stands up and says maybe they love or loving. And that's it. I say, thank you. What is your name? And he says, Steve. And I say, Steve, that's not enough. Thank you, but that's not enough for us. Steve is one of 20 million Steves. You need to know me more. What is your name? And he says, Steve Bajabi. I'm like, thank you. This is Steve Bajabi, and this is his truth. Loving. Loving is the opposite of evil. The problem is love and loving is a word that is too broad. And there's a reason for that. Love is the opposite of evil. And we live in a place in which evil is thriving and evil is controlling the place, the society. So evil needs to hide the weapons that we can use to defeat it. And the biggest weapon that we can arm ourselves with is love to defeat evil. Now, Russell Brand pointed towards that in his book Revolution. When I read that, I was looking for a call to arms. I was looking for a how-to. Revolution didn't give that. Or at least, not in overt words. But it did. It did it in the very title. It did it in all the aspects that Russell was skirting around. And the call to arms is love. But the problem, as I'm saying, is that love as a weapon, or as a shield, or as a tool for destroying evil, needs to be understood more. Evil don't want us to have it. Evil don't want us to love. They don't want you to love your neighbour. They want you to fear and hate your neighbour. So they portray love as this ambiguous, strange thing. I mean, describe for me right now, anyone, what is love? And no one can answer. oh, it's like a feeling where we want to sacrifice things for somebody else. We'd do anything for that person. Oh, quite interesting. Well, that's love in terms of a relationship love, as we understand it, and that's what 99% of people are gonna say, because that is the love that has been rammed down our throats since we were born. Love one person. Love this woman or this man more than you would yourself. Love them with your sexual organs. That's love. Well, I'm sorry, but there is more to love than that. In fact, if we are talking of love as the word, then love is 3 or 4 different things, really. And that's the problem. We're not allowed to see or to understand what the opposite of evil actually is. See, I think the opposite of evil is loving, to give it a word that we understand, but basically it needs a whole other word. Anyway, what I mean by that is living in a way that forgives everyone and everything that happens, and that lives truthfully always, and openly always, and that gives of yourself in every possible way and in every possible moment that you can. Obviously there's a limit. If you're mortally tired, then you sleep, but loving person will do anything for anyone at any time, and will be truthful and will be open and all of these things, and that is what the opposite of evil is, being loving. And it's so powerful because it spreads, and we're right now locked into these societal places in which we are milked. Make no bones about it, we are cows and we are being milked. And we are being milked by the system to continue the pacification of the population of the lower echelons within that system. So we work pointless jobs for somebody else, sometimes for ourselves, in order to get money. In the process of that work, 99% of the time, we harm the earth, or we rip off, or basically steal from somebody else. That is how businesses work. They make profits. And in order to make a profit, the business has to buy something cheaper than it's going to sell it for, or sell it at more expensive than it's bought it for. And either way, that's ripping someone off. That is. I mean, you can justify it by, well, we are a supplier. Without us, the person doesn't get it. But, well, that's what marketplaces are for. That's what a farmer used to take his wares to a market to do. Sell them for people. We don't need a supermarket coming and telling us what we should buy and packaging it up and all of this and that. That's someone in between the farmer and the marketplace. So basically, we're in these situations in which we have no control. We're overworked. We're overworked because the living costs are so ridiculously high, and the council taxes are so ridiculously high, and our energy bills are so ridiculously high, that what we have to do is we have to work a 30-hour week, 35-hour week, in order to survive. So it's a cycle. It's a work, or we don't live. So our entire purpose becomes this sustenance of our survival, of our home environment in order to survive. We need a car to get to work. And then we need petrol to fill, and all of these things, all of these taxes, and all of these things, and then we need clothes, and then we need all of this. And, you know, the dream is to have more money than we need, so that then with that money we can buy shit that will make us happy. Yeah, we'll buy a Prada knapsack, or we'll buy a Gucci dog collar. You know, some label that charges 10 times what an item is worth because it's a label, and because it gives us prestige, and by having that prestige we then feel like we've achieved something, because that is what we're told we should be doing. You know, you look at all the stars and they have all new clothes by all these different designers. That's why they're called stars, because they're out there and we train our eyes upon them and they show us how we should live and show us what happiness can be. And these stars are happy. These stars are simply points in the sky that are used to direct us, just as stars have always been used to direct us. It used to be astrology and navigation. Now it's purpose. And we're chasing those stars, and those stars lead nowhere. They don't lead to happiness. If we emulate Lady Gaga, we do not become Lady Gaga. We become ourselves, just being a puppet, being used. My point here is, like, we are stuck in this system. And whether it's in England or America or Asia or the Middle East, we're in a system. We are all controlled. We are now in a world in which there is nowhere that we can go to escape. I wish it were another way, and I've tried for 10 years to find another way. But look at it this way. GPS, satellites, you know, the internet, mobile phone networks, energy. There is nowhere that one can go anymore, except for perhaps a tiny desert island somewhere. But believe me, after a period of time you will be discovered. There is no freedom anymore. That word is moot. So we're in a system, and we're controlled, and we're lied to, and we hate it. Whether you think you do or you don't, you hate it. The only ones that don't hate it are the ones that are on the top. And the only reason why they don't hate it is because they're too busy being afraid of what will happen if they lose it. So no one's happy. No one is truly purposeful. My father says that the only reason for being on this earth is to procreate, and to continue our existence. Well, if that was so, then why do we work? If that is so, then why have we surrounded ourselves with concrete? I believe that the reason why we're on this earth is to experience and to love. Because I believe that by loving, we spread love, and whoever created us, whatever created us, feels that love. And it fills our Creator with love. And then it's reflected back to us. But the point of all this is, so we're unhappy, and then we become depressed, anxious, paranoid, frustrated. And you only have to look at the rise in ADHD, Asperger's, OCD, the rise of people taking antidepressants now. All of this is massive, it's huge. It's gone from perhaps 10% to more like 60%. And it's getting worse. It's getting worse because people know there's something wrong. But you know what? This is a way to fight. Saying you're unfit to work is a way to fight. Because the more people that are unfit to work, the more people that are on state welfare, the more state has to provide, the less state gets, and so crumble eventually. Now, I'm not saying do it. No worries, I'm not saying do it, but it's what happened. I say the way to fight is to love. So, and I say that the reason to love, I say that the way to fight is to love because it's so much better. Excellent. Thank you. Now, you know a lot of people. Okay. Let's say even if you are not on Facebook and you don't have a mobile phone, you still know your family. And you still know the people that you work with. Which is probably, I don't know, let's say 30 people at a very small estimate. Now, most people will know a lot more. You know, have Facebook, which makes love even more powerful these days because you can reach out to about 1,000 people immediately. We are like drops of water in an ocean. It's true. But all of the ocean is made up of drops, and all of these drops are touching. And from just one drop, from your drop, you are in contact with the entire ocean. Now, how that works is a wave starts. And it starts because of the pull of the moon creating current. So a wave travels along. Your drop decides to not follow the wave, and it pops out the back of it. By not following the wave, I'm saying you live a life of love and truth and honesty and all of those things that we talked about. Because that is believing. That is not following the wave. Following the wave is selfishness, lust, lies, greed, all of these things. That's what they want you to do. In order to fight, you have to love. And you pop out the back of that wave. Now, you imagine a drop of water popping out the back of a wave. It's not going to go just on its own, is it? Because as a drop of water leaves a body of water, it pulls the water attached with it. It pulls the water nearest it outward. And so we can say maybe 2 other drops of water come. I think that would be a good estimate. Alright? Because that's how water works. It adheres to the other drops around it and becomes a body of water. So when one drop seeks to leave the body, it pulls its adjoining droplets with it, and a couple will fall out as it does. So your drop leaves, it goes the other way, it follows the path of love. 2 other drops see it and are inspired by it. So now, from your drop, you have 3. The next wave that comes along, those 3 drops go out, each taking another 2 drops with it, and you have 9. The next wave that comes along, all 9 go and take another 2 each with it, and you have 27. So forth and so forth. 27 becomes 81. 81 becomes 24, 243. 81 becomes 243. 243 becomes 600, 729. And 729 becomes 2,187. Let's stop there. So after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 waves, we're up to over 2,000 drops just from your one. That's how influential you are. Everything you do is important. It really is. And that's how we can change the world. Changing yourself. Imagine making a decision. Or let's say, imagine a time, or remember a time in which you've regretted a decision that you've made. Like maybe you've broken up with someone, maybe you didn't stand up for someone, maybe you stole something, maybe you hurt someone. And we all know about those regrets, right? We all have them. And they stick with us. They really do. And we wish we could change them a lot. And they don't go away. We can bury them, but they don't go away. Now, imagine if you'd done the right thing at that point in time. Imagine if you'd fought for the girl. Imagine if you stood up for the person. Imagine if you didn't hurt the person despite wanting to. Imagine if you'd done the right thing. And then when you look back on that moment, how different you'd feel about it. Imagine if you did that your entire life. It wouldn't matter about the cost of any of those points in time, because you would have those as memories, and no one would ever be able to take them away. And you would know in your heart that you had always done the right thing. How would that feel? I mean, we all think we're powerless, but we're not. We're all superheroes, as I've said before. It's fear that stops us. Fear of consequences, fear of pain, fear of being uncomfortable. But I say what's worse than all of those things is having memories of making the wrong choice, is feeling like we dislike ourselves, like we're weak. And the more often you make a negative choice, the more weak, the more pathetic, the more you'll hate yourself. The more you make the right choice, the more you stand up for truth, for rightness, the stronger you're going to get in your soul. Because the more that you will know you are doing the right thing, and no one will ever be able to remove that from you. That is something that is within your soul. In 20 years' time, do you want to look back and say, I lived a life where I did the right thing? These were times when I had choices and I didn't run. And I took one. I took a punch with the team, a metaphysical punch. I quit the job that was ethically wrong. Because imagine if you do the right thing. Imagine if everyone does the right thing. Those jobs wouldn't exist. Those people wouldn't be able to harm anyone. Governments wouldn't exist if they're not ethically correct, because we just wouldn't vote for them. We wouldn't let them stay in power. Such a simple concept, but it takes courage. And it starts with telling the truth all the time. And it doesn't sound like much, but I've done a video on it already. The great thing about telling the truth all the time is it forces you to tell the truth even more. And it forces you to become the truth. And then you realise that you're not forced anymore. It's just something that's fucking wonderful. The more you tell the truth, the more you start just doing the truth. And then the more you can tell the truth, and the less you have to hide, and the more you can walk around and feel like you are right with yourself. Anyway, there's a lot more to this video than that, but that's what I do at the moment. So remember.